Hello friends, I am from Biology faculty of QLS Academy. Today we are going to learn about the process of breathing. Hope you'll enjoy today's learning. Let's start with our lesson. Now students, close your nostrils and mouth tightly and look at a watch. What did you feel after some time? How long were you able to keep both of them closed? Note down the time for which you could hold your breath. So now you know that you cannot survive for long without breathing. हम अगर अपनी नाक और मुंह दोनों बंद करेंगे तो हमारा दम घुटने लगेगा. You must have seen the movement of the abdomens of dog, cats and other animals as they breathe. आपने ऑब्जर्व किया होगा कि अगर आप अपने चेस्ट पे हाथ रखेंगे तो चेस्ट अप एंड डाउन होता है. This is called as breathing. Breathing means taking in air rich in oxygen and giving out air rich in carbon dioxide with the help of respiratory organs. So we can say that breathing is a process by which organisms takes oxygen continuously. So we can say that breathing is a process by which organisms takes in oxygen continuously and releases carbon dioxide into the environment. It merely involves exchange of gases between the organism and the environment. Breathing is purely a physical process, whereas respiration is a chemical process. Breathing is brought about by coordination of different organs such as lungs, ribs and diaphragm. Now breathing involves basically two steps, that is inhalation and exhalation. Let's talk about inhalation. Inhalation is the action of taking in the air rich in oxygen. Inhalation मतलब हम जब air लेते हैं तो वो air oxygen rich होता है. During inhalation, the rib cage moves outwards and the diaphragm contracts to move downwards. As the rib cage expands, the space in the chest cavity increases, allowing air rich in oxygen enter the lungs. Next is exhalation, मतलब बाहर निकालना, हवा को बाहर निकालना. Exhalation is the action of giving out air rich in carbon dioxide to the environment. During exhalation, the ribs move inwards and the diaphragm relaxes to return to its normal position. The contraction of the rib cage reduces the size of the chest cavity. Now, air rich in carbon dioxide is driven out of the lungs. Now, let's talk about breathing rate. Generally, we are not aware that we are breathing. Breathing हमारी day to day life का इतना normal process है कि हम उस पर ध्यान ही नहीं देते हैं. However, if you try, you can count your rate of breathing. How? Now, breathe in and out normally and find out how many times you breathe in and out in a minute. Did you inhale the same number of times as you exhaled? Now, run for a while and then count your breathing rate. Does the rate of breathing is the same in this case? From this activity, you must have realized that whenever we need extra amount of energy, we breathe faster. One complete breath accounts for the sum of one inhalation and one exhalation. Breathing rate is the number of times a person breathes in 1 minute. Normal breathing rate in an individual during rest is 15 to 18 times breathe per minute. मतलब एक मिनट में हम 15 से 18 टाइम्स ब्रीद इन एंड ब्रीद आउट करते हैं. ब्रीदिंग रेट इंक्रीजेस ड्रास्टिकली ड्यूरिंग एक्सरसाइजेस एंड रनिंग एज वी हैव सीन. नाउ हाउ डू वी ब्रीथ? लेट अस नाउ लर्न अबाउट द मैकेनिज्म ऑफ ब्रीदिंग. ड्यूरिंग इनहेलेशन, nostrils take in the air which is moistened by the mucus secreted by the inner lining of the nose. The mucus lining present in the respiratory tract keeps the passage moist from the nasal cavity to the lungs. Mucus and the hair in the nose entangles the dirt, pollen and other dust particles and prevent them from entering our nose. Now, air passes through the pharynx and enter the trachea made up of rings of cartilages. Trachea is also called as windpipe. Trachea bifurcates into two stems called as bronchi. Singular of bronchi is bronchus. Lungs are situated inside the chest cavity and they rest on a large muscular sheet called as diaphragm. Diaphragm forms the floor of the chest cavity. When you breathe in, your diaphragm and rib cage gets into action. The diaphragm is protected by the rib cage. The diaphragm plays an important role in inhalation and exhalation. Movement of diaphragm is brought about by the special musculature. Each bronchus enters the lung on either side and gives out repeated branches named as bronchioles inside the lungs. Bronchioles supply individual cells of the lungs named as alveoli. Each lung is made up of approximately 300 million alveoli. A group of alveolar cells are surrounded by blood vessels. Oxygen that enters the lung is exchanged with carbon dioxide from the tissue at this alveolar region. Carbon dioxide is taken out in the same path through which oxygen entered inside. Carbon dioxide is released through nostril by the process of exhalation. During exercises, breathing rate increases so as to obtain more amount of oxygen, which in turn oxidizes more food to release more energy required by the body. We can understand the mechanism of breathing by a simple model. We can understand the mechanism of breathing by a simple activity. Take a white plastic bottle, remove the bottom. Now get a Y-shaped glass or a plastic tube. Make a hole on the lid so that the tube may pass through it. To the forked end of the tube, fix two deflated balloons. Now introduce the tube into the bottle. Now cap the bottle, seal it to make it airtight. Now to the open base of the bottle, tie a thin rubber or a plastic sheet using a large rubber band. To understand the expansion of lungs, pull the rubber sheet from the base downwards and watch the balloon. Next, push the rubber or a plastic sheet up and observe the balloons. Did you see any change in the balloons? What do the balloons in this model represent? What does the rubber sheet represent? Now, you should be able to explain the mechanism of breathing easily. Now, we talked about breathing in human beings. Let's talk about breathing in other animals. Animals such as elephants, lions, cows, goats, frogs, lizards, snakes, birds have lungs in their chest cavities just like human beings. Now, how do these organisms breathe? Do they have lungs like those of human beings? Let us find out. First is cockroach. A cockroach has a small opening on the sides of its body. Other insects also have similar openings. These openings are called as spiracles. Insects have a network of air tubes called trachea for gas exchange. Oxygen-rich air rushes through these spiracles into the tracheal tubes, diffuses into the body tissues and reaches every cell of the body. Similarly, carbon dioxide from the cell goes into the tracheal tubes and moves out through spiracles. These air tubes or trachea are found only in insects and not in any other group of animals. Second is earthworm. Earthworms do not possess any special organ for respiration. They always secrete slimy secretion on to the skin which keeps them moist. The skin in these animals is moist and slimy, which makes it permeable for oxygen to diffuse in and carbon dioxide to diffuse out of the body. As earthworm cannot breathe in waterlogged, matlab filled with water conditions, they come out on the soil during rainy season to obtain oxygen required for respiration. Now, do you think we can survive underwater? क्या हम पानी के अंदर रह सकते हैं? There are many organisms which live underwater. Now, how do they breathe underwater? So, let's talk about first fishes. Fishes are the aquatic vertebrates which respire through structure called as gills. This is called as branchial respiration, which happens through gills. Gills are present on either side of the head and are supplied by rich blood vessels. Fish obtain oxygen dissolved in water. During respiration, water enters the body through mouth and passes through gills and comes out of the operculum. Exchange of gases takes place in the gills of the fish, supplied by numerous blood vessels. They accept oxygen into the body and expel out carbon dioxide. Now let's talk about a special organism, that is frogs. Frog is an amphibian having two lives, that is one in underwater and one on land. Frogs are the only organisms which exhibit cuteness, matlab through skin, branchial matlab through gills, and pulmonary respiration, that is through lungs, and during different stages of their life cycle. Now adult frogs can breathe through their skin. Skin is moist and slimy, helping the animal to respire through skin underwater as well as on the land. This is termed to be cutaneous respiration. Now, adult frogs while on land respire through lungs just like us. Lungs are the respiratory organs which help in exchange of gases. This is termed to be pulmonary respiration. Now, tadpoles. Tadpoles are the larval stage of the frogs live in the water. They respire through their gills as they do not possess well developed lungs. This is termed to be branchial respiration, just like similar in fishes. So students, in this chapter you learned that respiration is a vital biological process. All living organisms need to respire to get energy needed for their survival, and not all organisms respire through the same method. I hope you all enjoyed today's learning. If you have any more doubts, you can go to the following link.